but the majority of what you do should be what you're born to do.
Mm.
You
Do
know,
you think there's a way to find out someone's natural talents?
I do. This
And
is exactly what I do.
and, and, and
So the way that this business works is I kind of head it up. I have a small team of support staff. So it flexes between 2 and 5. So my business support, social media support, that type of people, those tend to be on the payroll. And then I have a network of specialists. So if I, whatever you do, Peter, just leave well. I use that phrase all the time, leave well.
is it a clash between management and staff, or is it staff and staff? Where do you find that you have to go in and do your work?
Both. But we help teams just to be more harmonious. And we do that from a position of strengths, internal talents and strengths. So
Hi guys, welcome to another edition of Entrepreneur Insights. And this week's guest, we have Patricia, the wonderful Patricia, who's sitting here waiting in anticipation. And she's going to tell us all about how her business started and where she is right now. Patricia, how are you doing, girl?
I am good. Thank you. It's good to be here.
How long have you been doing this? What's your business? When did it start? And what's it all about? You tell me.
So I run a company called Geneva Pearl. We work with teams and organizations to help them create the very best working environments. So we kind of get rid of the toxicity, the tension. We help communication. We help teams just to be more harmonious. And we do that from a position of strengths, internal talents and strengths. So things that you are naturally born with, are those being used to their best effect? So that's one big part of my business, working with teams and organizations. The other part is that I work with a lot with female businesswomen, just businesswomen, right? To help them break through, to help them get through some of those barriers and struggles that I've encountered on my way up. So I kind of help them build confidence, their self-esteem, help them navigate their career, get to the next level. So I do that as well. So I do individuals and teams.
Okay. How long have you been going?
So this business was set up in 2019, so just over 6 years. Yeah, February was our 6th birthday.
Oh wow. Okay. So we're going 6 years. Tell me, what did you do before you done this business?
So I'm kind of from a corporate background. So I've always, my background is in learning and development. So I've always been a trainer, training manager, training director, working in the corporate field, helping them to sort out the development for the whole organization. So I've run lots of teams and managed lots of teams. Then I kind of went into something called change and transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So when organizations, I don't know, whether a senior leader changes or they're changing some kind of IT system or some kind of process, then I would be there to kind of help implement that change, but more crucially, look after the people who are impacted by that change and help the organization look after the people. Because when you do change to people, it don't work. So
Okay.
it's actually, how do you kind of get them involved in the change so that they will more easily adapt and adopt that change. So that's kind of where I'm from. That's my background.
What made you get into this?
Do you know, I think I've always been a bit of a people watcher. When I kind of look back at my career, I realized that I was always very interested in people and their behavior and why certain people behaved a certain way or reacted a certain way. So I was always interested in the psychology of it. And as I, learning and development is that, let me see how people learn, and, I can sing it, I can dance it, I can do whatever to help someone take on some new knowledge or some new skill. And I just would always find myself just watching. So I used to sit in businesses and kind of think, why are they allowing that to happen? When someone kind of shouts at someone across the room, or someone doesn't care if someone's really sad today, I used to think, why are the leaders allowing that to happen? I don't get it. So I decided to try and work out why, and then try and help those people, and that's kind of how I got into
Okay. Did you study psychology at all, or?
I did do child psychology as one of my degrees, part of one of my degrees, but I've not studied officially organizational psychology. I've got a lot of books on it, NLP, business psychology, org psychology. I've got a lot of books, done a lot of reading, done a lot of research, but I'm not a qualified organizational psychologist or anything like that.
Right. Okay. Tell us, because you mentioned struggles in work environments. Tell us something where you've saw a struggle and you dealt with it.
So a lot of the teams that I work with, so if I go with teams and organizations, so a lot of teams struggle with communication, for example, because we all communicate. We all communicate.
So do some of us.
A lot of us do,
Yeah.
right? But it's because we don't really know ourselves and how we communicate, or we think we know ourselves and we think, well, if I communicate like that, everyone should communicate like that. Okay. Or I'm going to communicate in the way that I know how, and therefore everyone should just accept it, right? But so I work a lot with teams with on communication. So a couple of the teams that I've worked with, they call me in because they're at loggerheads. You know, they're trying to pass messages around, they're trying to run a program or a project, but they've stopped talking. The communication has really broken down. So I will kind of go in. So that is their biggest struggle or their biggest challenge. They will call me in if I'm an external consultant, but I was internal for a very long time. They would call me in and say, you know, we've tried everything, you know, can you help us sort this out? So I would go in, and because I have a bit of a bird's eye view of things, and I have no allegiance to any one situation or any one individual, then I can go in really objectively and kind of say, you know, ask all the right questions and run groups and interviews and various other things, and kind of get to the underlying root cause of why someone isn't talking to someone, or why a certain situation is tricky, or why they can't agree. I get to that underlying stuff through a lot of conversation, and I will help them find the tactics and the strategies and understand themselves, as I say, as well as the other person. And that's how you kind of help to smooth over and create a bit more harmony.
Do you find that most of this happens in offices?
So, I mean, that example would be office-based, typically, corporates. I work a lot in the NHS as well. So whatever office, whatever professional setting, you know, the same problems occur again and again and again, you know, in different settings. It's like, you know, same problem, different day, if I say it like that, you know, but it's always the same.
Because what I was thinking is like, is it a clash between management and staff, or is it staff and staff? Where do you find that you have to go in and do your work?
Both. Yeah, but I am normally called in for peer-to-peer. If we're talking about communication, it's the staff communication or it's leader communication. So I tend to work with groups on that example. You know, it might be the leadership team is a little bit broken, or they want to improve how they communicate or make decisions or solve problems, you know, so it's that group. Or I'm working with the staff teams, or I'm working with a reception team, or I'm working with a sales team, or whatever it may be. But you do also get the disconnect between the leaders and the workers sometimes as well.
Okay. Yeah. So would I be right in saying that you sort of like go in there and team build?
That would come after. So the problem that you get sometimes is that people think the solution is team building. But the team building needs to, it's almost like the icing on the cake. You need to sort out the underlying issues first before you can start building the team. You know, the sorting out the underlying issues are, it's like get the foundation sorted. And this is where a lot of money is lost in companies, because they spend a lot of money and a lot of effort doing the team building, and people have fun for that day, and then they come back to the office and the problems are still the same. But so you need to sort out the problems first, and then you do the team building.
Okay. So here we go. Here's a scenario. I can't stand my work colleagues, all right? Can't stand them. They got my fucking nerves. And plus, I do better work than them, but they're above me. And they're getting paid more for me than me. But I can't stand them. How would you solve that situation?
So if you came to me, so if I was working in the same organization as you, for example, and you came to me and you just started to have this rant, then I would be saying to you, do you know what? I'd be trying to understand what it is, what have you seen, what's happened, all of that kind of stuff. After plenty of conversations, I'll be saying, do you know what? You can change this. You can change it. Yeah, you won. You can change this, right? Because you are in control of you. And it's important to you to get you out of the situation. The other people probably don't care about the situation as much as you do, but you can change, you can make the difference to you. So what are you going to do about it? So it's not a case, well, do you know what? Sometimes that is the option.
Wow.
But that's I would always say to somebody, if you've tried, you know, we would go through a few different things. So have you tried talking to them? Yes, I have, and it didn't do any good. Have you tried speaking to another colleague? Yes, I have. That didn't do any good. Have you tried speaking to the manager? Yes, that didn't do any good. Did you write them a letter? I'm going back to old time. Did you write them an email? Yes, I did. They didn't respond. So you might have tried all of these things, and you're now having a really, really difficult time. You can't concentrate at work. You're getting stressed. You're getting more angry. You hate Monday mornings now because you've got to go into work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's a case of, okay, so what else can you do? Do you know what? You can get yourself out of the situation. Find yourself another role. Start looking for other roles in the organization, or move out of the organization. And that is obviously easier said than done. So it's a long process, and that process there is whatever you do, Peter, just leave well. I use that phrase all the time, leave well, because if you've done 20 years of service, and it's been an amazing 20 years of service, and the last 2 months of, you know, fractious with this individual, and you start cussing, and you get upset and you get frustrated, and people will only remember those horrible times of you. Oh, well, he didn't do his work, and they don't remember all that. So it's like, you know what? Take a deep breath, do your work, and just strategically manage your exit from that team. But do you know what? Just leave well. When you leave there, they will have not a bad word to say about you.
Okay. So that means that I leave, but the people that's infiltrating this aggressive, they're still there. So the next person comes along and it happens again. So what happens? What would you do then?
So this is where you speak to the management, not you. So this is where I come in as an external consultant, right? Okay. So they call me in for these types of situations. We've tried this, people keep leaving, no one knows why. Companies pretend they don't know why, but they absolutely know that it's Jane in the corner who always causes the problems. They know this, but they ignore it because Jane's been there years and Jane knows everything and all of that kind of thing. But me, with no affinity to any particular part of that organization, I have no agenda. I can come in completely objectively, do the exploration, do the discovery, and say, do you know what, leaders, your problem lies in this particular individual, or your problem lies in that process, or your problem is because you know, you're allowing that individual or that team to, you know, be underhand, or, you know, I can come in and give them the cold, hard truth. And they hear. I get a lot of pushback sometimes. I get a lot of, yeah.
I was about to ask you, have you been met with any apprehension or any,
Always.
Oh wow.
Always.
And
Always.
how do you deal with that?
Well, it's all I say is, look, I've not made this up. I have no reason. This is what your teams are saying, because I would go out and do focus groups or have one-to-one conversations with various people depending on what the issue is that they've got me in to solve. And then I would put this solid report together, and I would get them all back in for a reflection session, a mirror workshop, and kind of say, right, let me play back to you what I've been told. Let me just play this back to you. And that's when you get the resistance. No, they didn't say that. They didn't say that, you know. And I'm like, well, either you ignore it and it will continue, or you hear it and then here are the recommendations to do something about it.
So when you go into the workplace or the environments, roughly how long does it take for you to do your work and finish your work from start to finish?
So that's a strange question, because it depends what the issue is. But what I have now, what I've kind of worked out over years of kind of doing this, is you can for if you're trying to create harmony in a team, improve communication, get rid of some underlying tension. If you're trying to do, and I'll say small things like that, but they can have a big effect. I don't mean to say small to, you know, make it sound like a teeny tiny problem. But if it's stuff like that, then it's up to 12 weeks. You know, so it's, yeah, so you go in, you do your exploration, everyone does a strength assessment, they all get to know themselves, they all get to know each other. We then bring the team together to kind of say, look at how brilliant you are, but look at, you know, the gaps. These things might be causing you problems. You know, then I kind of run workshops with the managers and leaders, and then we kind of set them some tasks and activities to do. We do something called a nudge calendar. So when we kind of, you know, step out the way about week 6, 7, 8, again, depends on the size of the team that I'm working with. We step back and we say, do you know what you need to do now is just keep reminding people, just keep nudging them and saying, have you done this, and how did that go? And there's different things that we do to make sure that it's not just a one-off training event. It's a program and a process that they go through. And that 12 weeks, I've got a program called Building Stronger Teams that, you know, you can get from start to finish and start seeing the difference in about 12 weeks.
Has anyone ever called you back and say, this shit is still doing the same old stuff?
Do you know what? No.
Good.
Do you know? No, they haven't actually. I keep in contact with all of my clients actually. Because I like to, because what I do, you tend not to see, you know, an impact to the bottom line, to the finances until about 6 to 9 months after. But you should see a change in behavior, you know, about 10, 12 weeks, right? But a lot of people want the tangible output, right? And they see that in the bottom line, or they see that in the productivity levels, or, you know, if they're going on performance reviews, then that's an annual cycle. So a lot of this stuff, for the people who need the tangible evidence, you don't see that until much later. But no one's called me back and said this has not worked. You know, I often get, I've seen this change and I've seen that change, and I have to remind people that it's not a quick fix. You know, the culture change and team culture is not a quick fix. So if people say, they can fix it in 2 weeks, they can give you all the stuff in 2 weeks, which I can do. But then the people have to act on what you've given them. And that is what takes the time.
Okay. So, let's go for the slow one. Tell me. So you come into the business, yeah?
Yeah. What business is it? Tell me. Go
Oh,
on.
well,
Big it up a little.
you could pick any business. The
Hmm.
police, that, oh, that's
Okay.
the police.
Okay.
You go to the police, right? And you say to them, and so how would you introduce yourself, first of all? You go in,
So they would normally call me in.
right?
They would normally find that they normally have a problem. They'd find me. They would normally find me somewhere, word of mouth or online or something. They call me in. I would then potentially be going into a senior leadership meeting or
Okay,
meeting with that one person who's head of the team. And they said, Patricia, we've got this big problem. What, and they would tell me what the issues are. And I would go, okay, so this is what I'm thinking we do. This might work for you. So I would be introducing the fact that, have they done this before? Have you done anything like this before? How long has this been going on? What I do is that I work with teams and organizations to help rid of some of these tensions that you're talking about. If they're talking about, oh, our absence level has crept up, our sickness level has crept up, it's gone through the roof, we're losing money because we're having to hire in short-term staff. If they're kind of giving me those issues, then I would be introducing myself as the person who can help them recognize those, and if there's any other issues that they're not seeing, and then I would talk about what I can be doing
right.
to help them get through that. So yeah, let's kind of work on people's strengths. Let's kind of look at that. Let's look at what you've done before and why that hasn't worked. Let's kind of look at any data that you have already. So I'd be kind of introducing myself in the realm of, let's talk about you first, and then I will tell you what I can or can't do for you. It's not always that I can.
Okay, is it just you, Patricia, doing this, or have you got a team?
So the way that this business works is I kind of head it up. I have a small team of support staff. So it flexes between 2 and 5. So my business support, social media support, that type of people, those tend to be on the payroll. And then I have a network of specialists. So if I need change managers or certified coaches, then I have a network that I contract in for specific jobs. So yeah, so we're a small outfit, but we've got a strong network behind
Okay.
us.
Where do you want your business to go? And in terms of, I could ask you a general question like, where do you see your business in 5 years? But that I don't want to. I need to know where you want your business to go from now to wherever, or where do you want it to get to?
So I want to. So I work internationally, right? I'm not sure I've said that
No,
here.
this is you.
So we are set up in the UK and Grenada in the Caribbean.
Okay, well,
So
check you
so
out.
so so my A.
Check you out, son.
So
Come in a
that
sunny place. Or come back to this England, this cold
I
weather.
know, absolutely.
Okay,
But so part of the dream and the expansion was to be international. I didn't know it was Grenada, but I tend to have these. Actually, I want it to be like this, but I never know what this looks like until I start going for it.
hmm
Where do I want this to be? I want my mission. If you look at my website now, the mission on the website, I feel like I've achieved. So I need another mission, basically.
So,
So
sorry to cut you there. What was your mission? Your initial mission, and
my
then
initial mission
Mm.
was for business culture to be a conversation around the boardroom table, and it to be a standard part of the conversation, not this add-on thing. Because when I started in doing workplace culture, it was like this. What is she talking about? We have, IT, we've got digital now, we have finance, we have commercial, we have marketing. What's this culture thing, right? We have HR. What's this culture? And I was like, people just need to recognize that culture is such an it's an essential part of business, and people can impact that culture. So my initial mission was, do you know what? I just want it to be just a in general conversation. When people talk about business, I want them all. When someone says business culture or workplace culture, I want people to know what it's about. I now feel that when we talk about culture, people go, "Oh yeah, I kind of know what that is." And now you have people and culture directors. You never used to 15 years ago.
I've never
Never
heard of
had
it.
that.
No, I've never heard of it.
There you go. So it's now there. I'm hearing more of it. My mission now, so I'm seeing that happening. It's playing out. It's not all down to me. Don't get me wrong here. It's not all down to me, right? But actually, that there's enough of us talking about the importance of culture that it's become commonplace in business. My mission now is to help individuals and teams recognize their natural talents and their strengths, and that everyone is using their strengths for their advantage and for the advantage of the people around them. So there's no reason why we should be trying to live out society's version of what does success mean. And what I mean by that is, as I was kind of coming up through my career ranks, let's call them that, I got to a certain level, and then I got stuck. I just got stuck. I could not progress anymore. And people would say, "Oh, Patricia, in order to get to the director level, you need to get this, or you haven't got enough of that, or you need to have this qualification, or you need to." So I would go and get another qualification. I would go read. I would go study. I would take the job at the next level without the package that goes with it, in the promise that someone, if you prove that you can do it, then you can have the job. That happens so many times. I thought, hold on a minute, all the stuff that you're telling me that I have to do, I don't even like doing that stuff. So why do I have to do this? But I kind of followed in order to be a director, Patricia, you need to have all of these things. And unless you have all of these things, you're never going to make it. So I followed that for years. Sadly, it was years. Until one day I thought, no, this ain't right. We should be doing what we love to do. And I know that can't always be true. And yes, in all of our jobs, there's something that we don't like. But the majority of what you do should be what you're born to do, what you're naturally talented in, what your strengths are in. Right. Do you know what I mean? So you do a few other things, right? Don't you?
Yeah. No, I do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I don't know how you got into your original, profession, but there was always something that said, actually, there's something else that is, there's something else in me that needs to come out, that's untapped. Those are our natural strengths and our natural talents. So it's like, do you know what? If everyone knew what their strengths were and what their natural talents were, everyone would just be having the best time. I'm living the dream right now.
Do you think there's a way to find out someone's natural talents?
I do. This is exactly what I do.
And how do you find that out then?
Do you know what? There's a couple of ways. Yes, you can do an assessment. So a lot of my work with the individuals and with teams starts with a strengths assessment for each person. And then we do a team assessment to see how strong and how brilliant you are as a team. If you don't go down that road, if you haven't met me, if you haven't met another strengths coach, if you don't know about strengths and how to take the assessment, and I can tell you how to do all that in a minute, then actually when you're asked questions like, what are you good at? And we all kind of stumble and we go, oh, okay, I'm good at spreadsheets, or I'm good at, and we struggle to answer that question. What are you good at?
I'm good at making people laugh. That's it.
What else are you good at, though?
Everything.
No.
Everything.
No, you're not. No, you're not. and we're being flippant about it, right?
Yeah,
But there's things that you are so much better at
Mm.
than not, right? And the things that you are so good at, you probably don't even recognize how brilliant you are at those anymore because you do them so naturally, because they're your natural talents, right? But other people, you know, when people say to you, oh my God, you're so good at organizing things, or you're so good at, you know, bringing the room together, or you're so good at, you know, there'll be common things that people have told you throughout your lifetime, even when even if you go back to school and you think, oh yeah, people always used to say, oh my God, you're so good at that, or oh my gosh, how do you get people to do what you want them to do? You know, whatever it is, you will see, you will start to recognize some kind of pattern with what people are telling you you're good at. But we kind of go, oh no, it's fine, no, oh, everyone does that, or no, it's nothing. We brush it off.
We take it for granted.
Listen, we absolutely take it for granted. But people can't do things the way that you do them, and people can't do things the way that I do what I do. Right? They will have some kind of similarities. You know, if technically people can do what I do, technically people can do what you do, but you will have a natural ability to do something better than me. You know, if I was to do a strength assessment on you, right? I shouldn't say if I was to do a strength assessment on you. I should say if you were to do a strength assessment.
Look at that strength assessment.
Yeah. If I was to do this, if you were to do a strength assessment, I bet you would have something called woo on your profile.
Like a woo factor.
A woo factor. Woo stands for winning others over. You know, and if you're the type of person who can command the room, you can get people laughing, you can get them joking, you can get people together. If there's some tension somewhere, you can kind of ease that tension. You know, I reckon you would have something within your top 5, even at number 1. Your most dominant strength would be something like woo. You'd potentially have something called command as well, which is an influencing skill, you know, or influencing strength, I should say. So you potentially, you know, this is what I mean. I people watch and I think, oh yeah, they're probably this, and they do that so well, and why do they do it like that? So yeah, so back to my people watching again.
I say, well, I people watch for reasons, because I like to analyze people and characterize them, and then I could say, oh, this joke will work on that person. This joke will work for that person. I do that. I do that, but naturally, if you see what I mean. I've been doing that for years.
So what have you seen of me then that you would be thinking? What's the character of me that you would take? Now, be kind.
I ain't telling you.
I'll be sending someone round to see you. You know,
no one at all. What I was going to ask you is, what industry do you find you working more in?
Health.
It's a good thing that this is.
It's not that there's a lot of problems in health, and I don't know how I have got drawn into health. It's by chance, but I've worked in the NHS on and off, never as a permanent member of staff, always as a contractor for the last 20 years. And you know, I love making the difference. I mean, I love making the difference everywhere, but I don't know, I'm just called back to health all the time. And when I haven't experienced the health industry for a while, I almost miss it. I feel like it's the place where I can be the most impactful, I guess, but that's not saying I'm not impactful anywhere else. I don't know. I
Is that
just love working in health.
is that because there's a lot of issues amongst the staff, overworked, stress? You know, there's a lot of overworked staff, and
There are.
I can imagine the anger's flaring. You'd go and do this. You got to be here. You got to be do. You know what I mean? And so
Very stressful.
it's just ah. So
Yeah.
I can see where your work will get a lot of attention in health.
Is it more than anywhere else though?
Mm,
Um, Different stresses, but a lot of them are the same. A lot of the
mm,
problems that come up in organizations, whether it's health or whether it's import export or whether it's cosmetics or whatever industry, professional services,
mm,
it's typically the same type of things. It's the the backstabbing. It's the non-communication or lack of communication, unable to communicate. It's the
right.
silo working, not collaborating. It's the it's the the so and so's. We've got so many people off sick. Our sickness levels have gone up. It's the same issues. It's the same challenges. It's the now we don't have enough people to run this. The difference with health is if 5 people go off sick in the bank, 5 people go off sick.
Mm,
You can get your money tomorrow. That piece of pile of work can do tomorrow. If
mm,
5 people go off sick in the health sector, people can die.
right.
But
Right.
they have to backfill those roles.
Mm, mm,
We see the problems in the health sector right now. We see that they're now recruiting corridor doctors. What's
geez.
going on?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Being in the corridor used to be a temporary thing.
Mm.
Now, I'm sure I heard it the other day. There was one trust who had put out an advert to recruit a
Corridor.
doctor specifically to work in the corridors because there were beds that they'd got lined up in the corridors that had no ward to go to because the wards were filled with people who they couldn't discharge. Yeah,
And
it's a lot.
so your role will be to step in and to try and find out why they've got so much beds in the corridors, or to try and get a unison to so that people don't go off work sick, why they're off work sick, and make sure that there's a general, communication with each other type thing. So this
Yeah,
doesn't happen. Yeah.
it's
Okay.
the latter. I am certainly not the person
Mm,
who tries to work out why. I'm not medical at all. I would not be the person to be working out why there's so many beds in the corridors. They have
mm,
bed managers for that. They have clinicians for that. I might be the person behind the scenes who's looking at the processes along with a team who's doing that. And if a process needs to change, I would put my change management hat on and say, if that process changes, then it's going to affect all of these different teams along the way. So how can we help them adjust to the change in the process? So that's where I come in for this.
okay.
But I could be working with the HR team, the comms team, the digital team on communication or how to support the bed management system, for example. But I'm not clinical by any stretch of the imagination.
That's brilliant, Patricia. You've got an event coming up. Tell us about your event.
So I run an event called Unlock Your Potential.
Hmm.
I run it in the UK and Grenada. The next one in Grenada is May, but let's talk about the one in the UK. So it's coming up in June. It's aimed at women now. It wasn't aimed at women. It's aimed at business women. And they come along for 2 days and they get re-energized. They build their confidence, their self-esteem. So we kind of go through the strength stuff that I've been talking about. So who
Hmm.
are you? Reminding them of who they are, but more importantly, how they can articulate that. So how can they say what they are brilliant at without feeling big-headed about it? We do
Okay.
some personal branding in there. We do some female empowerment in there. How can you get more visible on social media? We do all of that for them over 2 days. So that is coming up, and it's going to be it's going to be brilliant this year. Actually, we're in our second year running it, so yeah, looking forward to
So
that.
is it a form of retreat? or
No, it's a two. No, it's not a retreat. I would definitely call it an event rather than a retreat. But you have given me an idea, though, you know. But no, I'm not doing retreats. I'm not doing retreats. This is definitely an event, quite high energy, so that they have real tangible stuff that they can learn in those 2 days, take away. There's huge amount of network possibility for them as well. So there's a lot, but no, definitely not retreat. They come and they go, come and they go. Yeah, stay over in the hotel if they want to. But
and where can they find more information about this event?
yes, not a retreat.
I
It's
nearly
an
got it.
event. Yeah, it's an event. So Geneva Pearl, www.genevapearl.com / unlock your potential. So it's there. They can also find it on LinkedIn and on Facebook. If they connect to Geneva Pearl or connect to myself, they can find it there. Yeah, they can get the information there.
And also, okay, where can we find you, Patricia?
Yeah, so I am predominantly on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I hang out. That's where I think a lot of the people that I engage with hang out as well.
Okay.
I'm a little bit on Facebook, but I'm on Facebook because my Grenadier audience is on Facebook mostly. And a lot of the women that I'm talking about obviously transcend both. They do the Facebook and the LinkedIn, so I'm there too. But if you're talking about physically, hey, I'm in London.
But you're in London, but we can find you on LinkedIn, preferably. Guys, you can find Patricia on LinkedIn. So if you've got any issues with your business and you need it resolving individually or a business collectively, Patricia's the girl, or shall I say the woman, for you to see. Patricia, thank you very much for appearing on Entrepreneur Insights. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and it's definitely been an insight into your business. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter.
Guys, if you want to hear more information about businesses that's transferring into entrepreneurs, please follow the link and subscribe.